Mogul TV Global Network is the #1 streaming TV network for positive programming. Built on the pillars of culture, diversity, and legacy, Mogul TV Global Network is the award-winning platform serving men, women, and families with purpose, positivity, and passion, while celebrating life by educating, inspiring, entertaining, and empowering viewers around the globe to live their lives on purpose. Visit www.themogulchannel.com. Welcome to the Leading Executive, the preferred leadership development, leadership training, and soft skills learning management platform for various organizations. At the Leading Executive, we believe in elevating your leaders' skills with experiential learning. Our platform offers a wide range of leadership training and soft skills courses that are designed to help your leaders unlock their full potential. Whether you're an individual looking to enhance your leadership skills or an organization looking to develop your team, the Leading Executive has got you covered. Our courses are designed to be engaging, interactive, and practical, ensuring that your leaders not only learn the skills, but also apply them in real-life situations. Our motto is unlock your leaders' full potential. We believe that every leader has the potential to be great, and our platform is designed to help them get there. So what are you waiting for? Sign up today and start unlocking your leader's full potential with the Leading Executive. The Leading Executive, elevate your leader skills with experiential learning. Good evening. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the energizeHER Reproductive Health for Black Women Fireside Chat. I'm your host, Tameka Chapman. I'm excited to be here. I am really excited to be here with two of my favorite people, okay? Two of my favorite people as we share insights, knowledge, expertise when it comes to, one, women dealing with the challenges of their reproductive health, but also in the workplace, also with our partners, our men, as they support us, but also as we support them through the journey. So again, welcome to the energizeHER Reproductive Health Fireside Chat. I'm Tameka Chapman, and I am excited to talk about, one, the health challenges for Black women. So when I will say that I just recently saw an article that said that the Senate blocked the bill that would give IVF access to IVF treatments, and I was floored because for me, I've used IVF treatments several times in the past, and I've spent a lot of money on IVF treatments. However, it was one of the tools that I use, to help start my family. Wasn't successful with it, which is why we did it multiple times. However, for Senate to really cut that off, it really, brought it to motion that we really need to have this conversation. Our reproductive rights as women feels like it's up for grabs right now. And I don't know about you, but I want to be in control of, some say, well, not some say, but I'll say of what happens to my body in the reproductive arena. I want to be able to go to the doctor and tell the doctor, hey, this is what's happening. This is what I feel that I would like to do at this time. And with the doctor's expertise, map out a plan for that. Not having the government to say what I should and should not do and can and cannot do with my own body. And so, for me, creating the reproductive health fireside chat, I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to speak on reproductive health challenges. One of the reasons I went through IVF and all the other fertility, advanced fertility treatments was PCOS, due to PCOS. PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome in my early 20s. However, I really started exhibiting symptoms, signs and symptoms and all the stuff back when I was around 14, maybe 13 and 12. But it went untreated, unrecognized, went all the uns. And so again, I just want to say thank you all for joining us tonight. We're going to be talking about, again, PCOS, bringing more awareness to it because of my own journey, but also menopause. Menopause is a part of our health and wellness, and we have Carleeka Basnight-Menendez, our corporate menopause consultant, who will be sharing more insights when it comes to menopause as a whole, as a woman, but also in the workplace, because that is very crucial to us actually thriving. But also our favorite Gregory McKinney, who is our life and relationship coach, as well as emotional intelligence expert for men. So as you join us tonight, first we're going to ask that you share this broadcast with others. We're going to share that you share this across your social media profiles, whether you're tuning in from Facebook, um, across YouTube, and any other platform where we're shared to. We want you to share this broadcast with others who you know, either yourself or others that you know, other women that you know that may be experiencing, going through, or have gone through reproductive health challenges. We definitely want to have a conversation with you tonight. But I also want you to have in your mind, because we're going to ask this question at the end of our segment tonight, of what does reproductive health mean to you, and how important is it that you actually have a voice to shape how your journey is as you're taking on the challenges that you have to do. So as we get started, as you heard, I spoke about my journey with PCOS. Before I get into that, let me just formally introduce my good people here, because y'all know I can talk. Okay, I'm so excited about tonight. I am so excited about tonight, just sharing. And I'm okay. I'm a little selfish because I want to get y'all's insights too. Okay, this is for me just as well as it is for everybody else. However, Gregory McKinney, let's start with you.
Hmm.
Please, if you don't mind, introduce yourself. Let the world know who you are.
Hey, thanks again, Tameka, for having me. I can always consider it a privilege to talk to you. One of my favorite people to have a conversation with, also. Um, my name is Gregory McKinney. I've been a life and relationship coach now for over 10 years. And so I started out in pastoral counseling. I'm also a licensed minister. And so that transitioned into not only my calling, but my vocation. And so I'm happy to do that. I started out with married couples, people who wanted to get married. And so, uh, after I kind of tried to run away from it, people kept knocking at my door saying, "Hey, can we have a conversation with you?" And I said, "Okay, well, it's going to cost you now." And so uh, I've been doing it and I love it. It's one of my favorite things in the whole world. I love it more than I love chocolate cake, and that is to serve God's people and try to help as many people possible, overcome their spiritual and emotional struggles. I think this is a very important topic, and I am super, super glad to be here. And just briefly, I think you spoke about a lot in your introduction about the Senate bill getting knocked down. I mean, it just goes to show how unprotected women, and especially Black women, are in our community and in our nation, that not only in our communities, but in our government, women are still constantly fighting for equality and constantly are saying, aren't I a citizen too? Don't I deserve the respect as any other citizen in this country? Why, because I am female, do you consider me to be less than? Because, I have never been told that I had to do something with my body as a man, but it just amazes me that women get told what they can do with their body by older men who have never had a period or a cramp whatsoever. And so that just boggles my mind that women still have to be pushed to the background when it comes to decisions like this. And so hopefully tonight we can get the conversation started and we can get people energized to
Right.
become more active in their community and in the government.
I love it. I love you. Thank you for sharing that. So listen, as y'all heard, we are here for the conversation tonight, and
We
I'm
want
so
all the smoke.
we want all of the smoke. Okay, I love it. So thank you again, Gregory. I appreciate your yes for being here tonight with me. And we have Carleeka Basnight-Menendez. Carleeka, please introduce yourself.
All right, so I am Carleeka Katrina Basnight-Menendez. Rap name is C to Z. Okay, but I am the founder of Inso Inc. Inside Out, and our organization is always helping women to navigate menopause and talking about issues that women are having health wise. And we're not just talking about the physical, we're talking about spiritual and emotional. Our pillars are to help women break barriers, receive breakthroughs, birth their dreams, and build bridges. That is what we stand on. That is what we believe, because though you might be menopausal, and if you're not, you're going to get there eventually, right? But if you're not there, you still have an opportunity to birth your dreams. And we're not going to let the government men or decisions stop us from birthing those things that God placed in us way before we was even thought of, right? Even in our mother's womb. So Tameka, thank you for the opportunity to be here with you and Gregory, just to have these conversations. And like Gregory said, to energize, but right, we don't want you just pumped up. We want you to take action, right? These are conversations for you to take action and evaluate and assess. How am I handling my health? What am I dealing with? Then even looking back, maybe your mom or your grandma, and looking generationally and looking to the future as well. What does that look like for our little girls? What does that look like for the next generation of young women and men? Because the men are part of our support system. We have to include everyone and don't exclude anyone.
As Gregory said, I should say, we want all the smoke tonight. Okay, we are here. We are here. This is really going to be a great conversation, and we would definitely want to have you all engage with us. So if you make comments in the chat here, we'll be able to get to those randomly throughout our conversation. But just continue to engage with us, continue to share, and let us know that you're here. And look, Alicia's already in the chat. She said, "Listen, preach, Gregory." And then to Carleeka, she said, "And just like that, she killed it." So thank you all again. We are here, to talk about the reproductive health when it comes to women. And one of the things that I wanted to share, when it comes to PCOS, that's, what I deal with. I was really caught off when I started doing research. I mean, years ago, I've been trying to do more research and learn more about PCOS and how it really affects women. But to see that it affects 1 in 10 women of childbearing age, I was a little like, wow. And I think there's even more stats that make you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this is happening. But with me, I didn't know that I had PCOS. I remember when I was first diagnosed with it, formally diagnosed with it. It was by a doctor. I'd had a medical issue that I had to go to the doctor for. And when the next day she told me, "You have PCOS, ma'am," my response was, "I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, take it out and send it back from where it came because I don't want it." I don't know how to treat that. Like, there at that time, there wasn't a lot of research done. There weren't a lot of women that had come forward and talking about it. There weren't doctors giving information about it. And so I was given a pamphlet, like probably like 5 pieces of paper stapled, if that, and read this and go home. And at the same time, oh, and by the way, you also have diabetes type 2. What? So only to come years later to find out that PCOS goes hand in hand with diabetes type 2. And they don't know which one comes first. I don't care. I don't want either one. Right. And so, with me, I dealt a lot with denial, right? Denial of both. So I went untreated, really because one, I wasn't interested in learning more about it. I was, it's like, God gonna get this stuff off of me. I'm gonna pray it on off of me, right? So that was my initial thought, and then I started exhibiting all of the signs, and things that I had no idea what was going on. Like I gained 30 pounds in 1 year, which is crazy. I started having bad acne, and I'm just like, where did this come from? I started having hirsutism, like excess hair growing. Like, I'm a woman, I should not have hair on my face unless it's a sideburn, okay? And so I had a lot of the signs of things that really made me start questioning like what's really happening with my body. And so again, research years ago, it wasn't there. I didn't know exactly what to do except for just to manage whatever they gave me, take the pills that they gave me, see the doctor, try to lose weight. And it seemed like the hardest thing to do. So I felt alone. I felt, I don't want to say abandoned, but I really felt abandoned by the medical field because, hey, you're telling me I have this, but what am I supposed to do? So, for me, it was an emotional battle. It was a mental battle. It was physical battle. It was a spiritual battle. It was a battle all over for me of trying to figure out what was happening to me, to my body. There was no help. There was nobody that looked like me I could talk to. There was not an anonymous meeting that I could go to say, hey, we support women who are going through, who have been diagnosed with PCOS. So again, my thing is, I just want to speak up for the issues that I have, the challenge that I have, and still every single day I still face issues and challenges that is due to PCOS. I can't fight it all. I can't, get rid of it because it's just there. And despite all of the things that I've tried to do, it's just there. And so, if there's any other women who are dealing with PCOS, if you are feeling left alone, if you're feeling alone, if you're feeling by yourself, you're not by yourself. There's millions of women who are dealing with this, and I encourage you to seek out support, seek out help, seek out a group that can help you. So with this, I'm sharing my journey, and I feel like I'm tearing up a little bit because I can remember when I was first diagnosed, and I remember my journey because again, I'm still living it, right? But for you, Gregory, I would ask you,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
as tapping into your life coach
Okay.
side right now, as
Okay.
women, as we are going through,
Yeah.
the mental and emotional stages, I should say, of our reproductive health and trying to get help and feeling alone and not knowing what to do. What are some things that you can provide that will help us keep some sanity among, within
Yeah.
ourselves, get to a point of, at least being peaceful, or some things that we can do to at least bring peace for a moment?
Sure, sure. The first thing I would say is you don't want to live in solitude. As you were sharing your testimony, I heard a lot of your expression stating that you felt alone and isolated, unseen. And I think what is critical at a time like that is surround yourself with people that love you, that unconditionally, that this particular issue that you're going through does not define you. People that can see you beyond this issue and that can love you beyond this issue. Because when I'm sure when you got this diagnosis, it was the only thing you can think about. It was always in front of your eyes. And so you want to surround yourself around people that can say, hey, there's more to you than just this. And we love you even as you go through this, and find some people that are willing to walk through the valley with you. So that would be the first thing I would say is find your tribe. Find the women or men that could come around you and love on you as you come to grips with this new struggle or issue that you have. Secondly, and I know it sounds cliche, but it's very, very important. I would say journaling is very important. The reason why journaling is very important because when you put into words your actual emotions, it makes a big thing smaller. It does the big scary monster that's hiding in the closet actually seems manageable because you're feeling emotions that are very abstract. But when you put them into words and say, I feel angry, I feel sad, I feel lost, I feel isolated, then we can attack that. We can attack anger. We can attack solitude. Uh, we can attack sadness. We know what we're dealing with, but as long as you keep it in your head, it just grows and it grows and it festers. And so
Yeah.
you want to journal. And as you journal, you also will begin to take note of the things that are triggering you. So if you're walking through the park and you see kids, you'll find that that's a trigger for you. You see a commercial, that's a trigger for you. And so we can identify your actual emotions, then we can identify what are those triggers, and then the people that are around you can help protect you along the way. And then and then not lastly, but then also do as much research as you can. I know that probably there's more research done today than it was when you had your first diagnosis. So research is also very helpful. And as a person of faith, I would say there are some things that God will take you to just to see you through and to accept God's will and say, God, this isn't the battle or mountain I would have chose for myself, but because you chose it for me, I know that I can overcome it. And I know, God, you don't waste anything. Even my mistakes are not wasted when I give them to you. And so, God, you're going to make this mess a masterpiece. And so, God, I'm going to put it in your hands and I'm going to trust you and
Mhm.
know that when I make it to the other side of this mountain, I'm going to understand why better. And so those things combined, I think will help anyone go through a difficult journey.
I appreciate that. And you just summed up my entire life, okay? Like from stage to stage to stage, like the different stages that I went through and ultimately getting to the point of, relying on God, for the message that I needed to give because I'd gone through it. Because for a long time I didn't want to think about it, I didn't want to talk about it. I lived in shame as well because dealing with PCOS, one of the biggest things that it does is it causes infertility. And with that, it took me 18 years before I actually um, was able to get pregnant, right? 18 years before I actually had my first positive pregnancy test. And so, again, all of those stages that I'd gone through, I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to remember it. And then ultimately, I got to the point, let me just start writing some things down. Let me start being grateful right now for the life that I have because I know that there's something greater that's coming. I can't go through all of this hell for a big blessing not to happen. And then God bless me with my two babies. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
absolutely.
am living proof. Go ahead on,
I was
Gregory.
going to say, I think it's very important also how we frame what we're going through.
Mhm.
You can say to yourself, I don't deserve this. I shouldn't be going through this. Or you can say to yourself, I am being built by this.
Yeah.
And so I think when the story that you tell yourself, the narrative that you tell yourself, because if you tell yourself you're a victim, guess what? You're a victim. But if you
Right.
tell yourself you're victorious, guess what? You're victorious. Is that change is first internal before it's external.
Hmm.
And so, if the Bible says it this way, that as a man thinketh, so is he. And
Right.
so, you can change your life by changing your mind. And I was just, excited about what you just said, that how you framed it for yourself, knowing that it was going to be a purpose for this, knowing that God didn't bring you this far just to leave you. So that I think is the testimony of the night. It's just you are more than just this issue, that God
Right.
is using you for something bigger.
Absolutely. Carleeka, I'm going to come to you, but before I do, I want to come to the comments here. Kiki Ernest, who is an RN, she states, as a nurse, it saddens me that you didn't receive proper patient educational resources when you were first diagnosed, other than a pamphlet. And yes, Kiki, I pray that they are doing a whole lot better of a job right now for women who are newly diagnosed with any kind of reproductive health challenge, any kind of, health challenge at all going to the doctor. I pray, especially for reproductive health, that there are more resources that are now offered. I know there's a lot of support groups. There is now, at least for PCOS, there's two big organizations that are specifically created to be a resource and support group for PCOS. So I'm excited. I'm excited that they exist now. I wish they had been around when when I was first newly diagnosed, but they're here now. So I'm not going to cry about it anymore. I'm excited. I get excited for it. And Alicia says, I'm victorious. Absolutely. That's the mindset. I'm victorious. With Carleeka, I know we're going to be talking a little bit later about the menopause journey, especially in the workplace. But for you, if I'm not mistaken, you have had your share of reproductive health issues as well. Did you or did you not?
Absolutely.
So
So
please share, about your journey again, because even though I have PCOS, this is reproductive health. It's not just about PCOS, it's about our reproductive health as women. So please share about your journey.
So as for me, I mean, it was years that I was going back and forth to the doctors in my late teens, early 20s, and going back and forth. And so it reminded me of the woman with the issue of blood in the Bible, right? She spent all she had. She's going back and forth. You're leaving more confused. You're leaving with no concrete answers. You're not even really leaving with a diagnosis, and they're just kind of giving you the runaround. And almost expecting that you should accept it, right? Because they're the medical professionals. And I'm thankful for medical professionals. And Kiki, that's TJ's sister. That's my sister-in-law. She's actually the one who, after I had a total hysterectomy done. So I was dealing with endometriosis for years. I mean, I'm in pain. I'm explaining to them, but I didn't feel as if I was being heard. I didn't feel as though I was being seen. I was being dismissed. Even when I'm like, no, I'm in pain. These things are happening because I pay attention to my own body, because at the end of the day, I may go to the doctor's office, but we're only there, give or take, from the waiting room to the back. We'll just say an hour, right? But I'm with me all of the time. So you can't tell me what's going on exactly with me, especially when I'm paying attention and tracking and trending and like, okay, something is off. And so they gave birth control, all of these things that didn't help. So I remember my last conversation with the doctor, and her lack of empathy floored me. Right? This is woman to woman. And I'm just like, wow, no empathy, no compassion. And it was almost like, do you want Skittles or do you want peanut M&Ms? And she was like, she didn't ask did I want the candy, but she said, well, you can either be in pain or you can have a hysterectomy. Well, I already been in pain for years, so I don't think I want to keep being in pain, Alex. Okay, so let me go ahead and opt and have the total hysterectomy. That surgery changed my life. That surgery almost killed me. Right. And though you go for the pre-op and you go for, that initial consultation and all of the things, but even then, that particular doctor, she still didn't really explain things that would actually take place. All she kept saying was, this is going to put you in menopause. This is going to put you in menopause. And as you were saying, Tameka, I didn't know people that was talking about menopause. It was like it was a menopause secret society that was silent, right? Like, where y'all at? I know I can't be the only woman facing endometriosis. I can't be the only woman prior to even deciding to have the total hysterectomy, before the surgery, after the surgery, and years later. And I'm just like, where y'all at? So then I would hear other people who didn't have a hysterectomy, they would tell me, oh, well, women have this all the time. Okay, so I left the doctor's office with 2 pamphlets. I remember walking out feeling a sense of hurt, a sense of grief, even though I didn't want any more children, right? We had 3 children, and it was still a sense of grief, like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to reproduce and have any more children. And so for some people, they may be thinking, well, you didn't want any more anyway, but it was still that sense of grief, like, wow, my whole body, my reproductive system is gone. Like it's gone. There's nothing there. And so a surgery that I should have been in the hospital for, they said maybe a day. I ended up being in the hospital for a week after the surgery, only to leave 24 hours later in our apartment on my knees, crawling to the bedroom, crying profusely in pain, bent over. And I'm like, something's not right. I took one of the pain meds, and I'm not a pain popper, a pill popper like that, right? Even though a doctor tried to tell me that I was a drug seeker. Okay, right. And I gladly just didn't go back, right? Because she was out of line. She was like, oh, well, it's just in your head. No, it's not in my head. And so I remember my husband calling Kiki, and she came over. He managed to get me in the bed. My body was clammy. She was like, get her to the ER now. She is literally changing colors. She has some infection. Fast forward, he on 64. I know only by the grace of God doing probably like 100 miles per hour, no cop in sight. And arrived alive. Okay, we arrived safely, but even once we got there, you could see that I was in pain. The people at the counter kept addressing other people and getting them to the back, while I'm sitting there vomiting, in pain, bent over, weak, and I was just like, hold up, why are we still sitting here?
Wow.
Right. And so when you think of these things, and sometimes we have normalized this behavior, and we make excuses like, well, I know I'm not the only one, and I don't know how many people in the back, and people are busy, all of these different things. But I've worked in the hospital, and I've seen some of the stuff in the ER, and all the time people are not that busy. Okay. And then you need to, it's prioritizing the emergency. And so a Black woman came up and she was like, why is she still sitting here? Because she pulled my chart. She was like, she was just here.
Mm.
She was just here when they got me to the back and did the ultrasound and different things. There was an abscess that was leaking, but was getting ready to rupture where my cervix used to sit.
Wow.
My doctor was like, I'm so glad you came in when you did, because you could have died. You could be in ICU. You could need a blood transfusion. However, I was hooked up on I remember that IV pole. When I say I feel like I couldn't even see the pole because of so many different fluids and bags, from antibiotics to all of these different things just hanging. I was just like, oh my God. I was literally fighting for my life.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so, yes, I had the surgery, but some of the things that I endured, whether it was from the doctors or just the bedside manners and all of these things, the lack of empathy, all of these things that you're already in pain, you're already feeling grieved, you're already having your own personal internal battles, you're already dealing with not feeling like you have the support, because how can I share what I'm feeling when I really don't even know what I'm feeling, because I can't really put it into words, right? So who do I talk to? Who do I go to? And so many women were so dismissive of having the conversation. And I was like, when I say I was flabbergasted, like, women don't want to talk about their health. They don't want to talk about menopause. But what if I didn't listen to my body that night? What if I would have said, you know what? I'm going to just get into bed and I'm just going to sleep it off. There's a great possibility that I wouldn't be sitting here. There's a great possibility I wouldn't have the opportunity to even share the story or to be able to help other women navigate through this journey. And I started this because I was just like, why aren't people talking about this? Like, this is life changing. And yes, we may not all have all of the same symptoms, and everyone may not have a hysterectomy, but everyone won't go through perimenopause either, right? And so knowing that it's different avenues, these are vital conversations, and having the confidence to speak up for yourself and advocate, even at the doctor's office, to say, no, listen to me. And if you're not, trust me, it's other doctors out here, right? And then being able to say, I'm going to speak up for me. So what I just think about, what if I didn't speak up for myself in those times?
Right.
What if I would have, I'm going to just push it off on the back burner? What if I did say, and I'm a proponent of prayer, but what if I did say, I'm going to just pray and go to sleep? Because God has given us wisdom and knowledge and resources for us to take action. That was a time for me to, yes, pray, but to take action as well. And he allowed me to, like Gregory said, I went through it. And so this is why Kiki says Black women, Black patients are at a disadvantage in our healthcare system. I've often thought of leaving nursing, but it's my ministry to ensure my people get the care they deserve, and to be at the table to advocate, to ensure we are cared for. This is a beautiful topic. Absolutely. And if more people have that heart, because when you behind the scenes and you see certain things, I may not have been the nurse in my own care, but it is my body, right? I may not know all of the measurements of certain medications, but when I'm expressing to you, don't give that medication too fast and different things, but then you do it anyway and you almost send me into cardiac arrest, right? When I'm having my children and I'm like, something's not right, you check me and you throw the bloody glove in the trash can, and I'm not dilated or anything. But when the doctor came in, the nurse didn't say one word. Thankfully, I was coherent, and I was just like, so she's not going to say is she not going to say nothing to him? And I had to say something to him, and he was like, oh, well, and she looking at him, he looking at her, and I'm looking at both of them like, so like, what's up? Like, she was not going to tell you. And I would have went home. My baby boy, Jeremiah, was a grown man now, 20 years old. He possibly wouldn't have been here because when he came out, he was stiff and blue because the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck 2 times. But what if I would have went home? What if I didn't see the bloody glove? What if I didn't say anything? So how many times are we in the offices and different things and we're not saying anything because we're afraid to have the conversation as that, well, they're the professional and I don't want to look dumb or I don't want to look stupid. So I don't know. But that's when we ask questions, and then we're thankful for nurses like Kiki who care, right? Nurses who are like, no, this, they shouldn't have said that, they shouldn't have did this, who are advocating even on our behalf, because we may not know all of the medical terminology for things, but at the end of the day, this is our body and we need to be speaking up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I feel it, okay? I feel I feel like I'm in the hospital with you, seeing her throw this glove in the trash, like how you vividly describe the scene. Like I feel everything right now. And it makes me upset that this is what we as women, especially as Black women, have to go through on a daily basis. And again, it really just resonates with me how important this conversation that we're having tonight is, and how we have to keep having this conversation, to getting the word out to more women, giving them the opportunity to feel not ashamed to share their story, because there's a lot of women who are still living in the silence. They're living in silence. They're suffering in silence, I like to say, because they're not sharing, and because they're not seeking the help that they need. They're not advocating good enough for themselves, and they don't have somebody in their corner like Miss Kiki.
I think a lot of times people don't even know where to start, right? We've been made to feel that we should be quiet. And that's even in the churches, that's in the workplaces, that's sometimes in people's homes, that we've been made to think that no, your words don't matter. You know, be seen, not heard, or nowadays not even seen. Because you think about if that was 20 years ago with me, and the fetal mortality rate is increasing,
Right.
what has really changed? Yes, I know
Nothing
we made some
but the
progress
year.
in some areas, but that was 20 years ago for me. And women are still going through this same thing to this day with the advancements that we have made. Why?
Right. Right. Wow. That's it's still disheartening. And there's a lot of young ladies who are going through and don't even realize that they're going through it, because they don't have someone that either they haven't, their parents, their mom hasn't gone through it, or they're not sharing with their mom what they're going through. And so it becomes still another generation of silence, that silent struggle, which then turns into 20 years from them, 20 years from now, they're going to be in our position talking about, I wish I had said something. I wish I had advocated better for myself. I wish I had someone that would have spoken life into me and given me some insights on how I could have better taken care of myself, or better advocated for myself for better health. And
I wish Gregory was even in those loops at that time, because after you've had the procedures and all of these different things, or the treatment plans, that support goes beyond the symptoms. That support goes so far beyond. Like when I felt I was grieving, there were people who couldn't understand the fact of, why is she grieving? She got 3 kids. Right. But I felt a sense of loss. Right. So even having a life coach, or someone that you actually could have had someone to walk you through the journey, to dissect certain things. And even if it was some traumas or some other things rooted, being able to pull those things up and plant some new seeds to navigate, right, this new life, this new normal in our life. What Gregory does, this is what people need in the healthcare field as
right
well,
now,
or just like literally.
right now. Absolutely. Gregory, we're trying to put you out there and give you more jobs. I'm so sorry. Okay.
No, I was blown away by the testimony. You mentioned that it was 20 years ago. I remember watching 60 Minutes. I think it could not have been more than 5 years ago. And they had a gynecologist, a white male gynecologist on the show. And he explicitly said that Black women do not get pain medication because we don't believe them when they say that they're hurting. Literally, I'm not making this up. This is him actually saying it. He's saying that is a huge urban legend or myth, or rumor that's going around, that when Black women complain, that they're just overreacting, they're just overreaching, that they're really not in that much pain. And so Black women do get dismissed a lot when they say, hey, I feel uncomfortable. Hey, could you double check this? And also, there was, I don't know if you got to see a few years ago, Serena Williams did a documentary, and she expressed that no, after she gave birth to her baby, she was saying, no, I'm in discomfort, I'm in pain. And had she not said that, I think they had found a blood clot
Yep.
afterwards. But she had to say, as you two ladies were saying, she had to be her own advocate. And I think
Right.
that when you go into these situations, you have to go in, unfortunately, as a Black woman, knowing that sometimes the healthcare professionals don't have my best interests in mind. They just see me as another body and not as a actual human being. And
Yeah.
so you have to go in there saying, I have to speak up for myself. I have to be a hero. And it's just so upsetting and infuriating to know that that is the case for so many women, especially Black women.
And
So
I agree with that. Was something that I was mentioning earlier, in an earlier conversation, is that we as women, if we, especially as Black women, if we do stand up for ourselves and say, "Hey, nah, this is not what it is," right? I've experienced where doctors didn't want to see me anymore. They
Hmm.
would not allow me to make another appointment with them, and it forced me to go to another doctor, because I was standing up for myself. I was advocating for myself. And I had this man named Dion, okay, who was just like, yeah, nah, no, you're going to see her, okay? If you don't see her, it's about to go down. So it's about having,
not the Chapman's being blacklisted.
listen, I'm not ashamed to say, yes, we will, because we need the care. If you're the doctor and you're getting paid to be a doctor, then sir, doctor, be a doctor, okay? Help me, help me, help me. So I want to feel well. I want to feel better. I want to not be in pain. I want to not go through all that I've gone through. I've had 3 blood transfusions due to PCOS, from having heavy cycles that lasted 6 months at a time, right? And can you help me? Can you help me fix this? Like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm just here, And so it's about, you have to be an advocate for yourself. Otherwise, you won't be here. You will perish away, and they'll be like, well, she should have came in. She should have come to the office and said something. She should have spoke up. So even if you run into issues where the doctors don't believe you, where the doctors don't want to hear what you have to say because, hey, I'm the doctor and you're just, you're the patient, be an advocate for yourself. You have to. And
Yeah.
if you can't do it, that's when you come with, if you are lucky and blessed and favored to have someone in your life, have your partner, your husband, your boyfriend, fiance, whatever he is to you, your daddy, if anything else, or some friends, to be a support to you. And that's where I want to talk about next, Gregory. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
I want to
Hmm.
talk
Sure.
about how can men help to create a safe space for us as women to talk to them, to tell them what's going on with us. And I'll say, for a long time, I didn't really tell Dion everything because I was just like, I have a doctor's appointment, and I would just go. And then I come home. Oh, what you got? Oh, it's just a new pill I need to take, right? It's just like, it became like a routine for us until he started asking questions, and I'm just like, oh, you really want to know, right? So what can we do as women to include men into our reproductive health journey, if you will?
Yeah, well, I think that's a great question. I think one of the first things that women have to understand about men is that we're a little duller than women are. And so, whereas women are able to instinctually catch on cues a lot quicker than men are, you have to be more explicit with men. You have to say, I need you to walk with me through this. This is a major issue. You have to literally say to a guy, listen, I need you to be more engaged, more attentive when it comes to this issue. And then he will know, okay, I need to do what my things are. I think, secondly, for that, men do well when they're told what to do. And so, if possible, you want to create tasks. Here's how you can help me. Drive me to the doctor's appointment, come prepared with questions, ask me how I'm feeling after the appointment. Before we walk out the doctor's office, ask me in front of the doctor, do you have any more questions? I'm going to need you to be my bodyguard when we're in there. I'm going to need you to be my voice when I can't speak for myself. And so let him know what his duties are Here are your marching orders, soldier. Here is your assignment, right? And so that is a way of connecting with your man. Men do better when they have instructions. So that's one thing that women can do to kind of help bring the men in. I think that for men, we have to understand that no woman wants to walk alone, right? That especially in this big life changing situation, this is something where she doesn't want to and should not be walking alone. So let me walk beside her, and if times, let me cover her. As she goes through this process, and let me just be as engaged, if not more, if she is. If I'm going to show up as Superman, this is the time for me to show up as Superman. How do you create an environment that is safe? You take away judgment, right? And so people feel safe when they know that whatever I share with you, you're not going to judge and you're not going to share. And so, men, to the men that are watching, let your woman speak and let her truth be your truth. Let her truth be the reality that you live in. If she says she's worried, that's the reality that you live in. If she says she's scared, that's the reality that you live in. And now you have to respond accordingly to that. Don't just say, well, it's just a stomach ache. You can get over it. Oh, you're just a little uncomfortable to take an aspirin. No, her truth is the reality that you're going to live in until she comes through it. And so you're going to stay with her through that. You're going to walk with her throughout that entire journey. Until she says she's better, you're going to stay with her in whatever darkness that she may be in.
Right. I love that. Carleeka, you're on mute. You say something?
Oh no, I was just agreeing. I said that's really good because I
Right.
have often now I go to the doctor like I'm about to tell you from A to Z from the time I walked in to the time I leave, everything in between because we've seen family members where people wasn't telling you everything. And
Right.
I'm just like, I need y'all to know what's going on, right? Even when it came to my children as they got older, I want you all in the know because I don't want anything to be a surprise to you. I don't want anything to be a secret to you. And people asking you, well, did you know this? And then you looking dumb in the face, like, well, she didn't say anything, or I didn't know that. And I'm like, nope, I don't want you. I want you all to be well aware. So I've often asked TJ, like, okay, because while I was navigating this new normal of menopause in my life, you was there from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, how was your journey? How was your journey on my menopausal journey? Right?
Oh,
How was that for you? What was your mindset of different things? Because naturally, a lot of men, okay, when they do see their families in a little distress or anything, they want to find what I gotta find something to do. And sometimes that finding something to do may not even be something physically they can do. And so I love what Gregory said. You know what? Men do better when they have instructions. This is what I need from you today. This is
right.
what I need from you prior to the surgery. This is what I need from you post-op. Now that I'm healed, this is what I need from you in this moment. And I think when we get to that point of being able to express and communicate that, like you said, with no judgment, like, okay, you just being extra, right? You just, and really just saying, okay, why are you crying right now? And now you laughing. Are you really right? Are you really okay? And maybe today, maybe I just needed a longer hug, right?
Right. Right.
And thank
Maybe
you for saying that. Thank you so much for
anything.
saying that, because I think a lot of times when we tell women, tell us what to do, what do you want from me? The response is, you should already know. If you loved me, you would know what to do. And so oftentimes that leaves men frustrated when we don't know what to do. We feel like we're failing you. And when men feel like
Right.
they're failing, they flee. And
Right.
so
Ooh,
when we ask you
Um,
the question, hey, what do you want me to do? Know that that is him saying, show me how to love you. I
yeah.
don't know how to love you right now. Please, please, please tell me how you need to be loved, and I will do it. It's not that I don't care. It's not that I'm dumb. It's just that I am just as lost and confused as you are. So I appreciate you saying that, because oftentimes the assumption is if you loved me, you would know what to do. And that's not the
Mhm.
truth.
or we're guilty of saying, I got it, right? I got it. I got it. I'll do it.
Girl,
And then we're mad because Why you not helping me? Well, you said you got it, right?
Right. You
Donna
know,
said,
oh,
women
sorry,
need to stop saying that men don't know.
right,
Absolutely.
right.
And we
That's
have
I
right.
don't know.
like we all have a responsibility, even from, with the male. I have a responsibility to express myself, and then my husband has a responsibility to let me in and
Mhm.
don't shut me out either, even if he's going through something, because men's reproductive health, even in the Black community, is just as important
Right.
as women, right? And I know we're talking about the women tonight, but encouraging our partners, encouraging our siblings and family members as a woman, hey, go to the doctor, make sure you're getting checked, make sure you're, you know,
Exactly.
all of these things. Because what I found is that, I see a lot of men like, oh no, I ain't going to the doctor.
Yeah, it is just as equally as important, but I think a woman's journey is a little bit more intimate. There is a degree of exposure that you have that men don't. We pretty much just drop our trousers, you look at it, and then you can just move on. With women, it's a little bit more involved than that. And
It
so I
is.
think that men have to be careful and sensitive that when a woman gets examined, that this is a lot more invasive than it is for you, sir. And so, in some cases, it could actually feel like a violation. And so, we want to be more careful and more sensitive that she's going through this process so that she can expand your family, she can
Mhm.
maintain the intimacy in your relationship, and she's taking care of herself. And so there is, I think, a greater sensitivity that we have to
Absolutely.
give to women's reproductive health.
I agree, Gregory. And I think too, in the healthcare field, when people start getting back to showing empathy, and this is at work and different things, where people feel like that open door policy and that open door to express how I'm feeling or what's going on. I don't have to go into detail, right? But you just see a lack of compassion and a lack of empathy. Like, oh, we can talk about the menstrual cycle, right? And so, because it's a natural occurring process, people are, like you said, they're so dismissive of it.
Mhm.
You've even found women who used to be embarrassed of buying sanitary pads. But when we think about it, do we really know how many people something that's needed is not accessible to them? And so you think about how dismissive that was. And we were taught, okay, even now you will hear young girls like, oh, that's just nasty, right? Because the mindset behind not really understanding the what is there to for and to do and different things. And so I say if we get back to even having more empathy and compassion, um, in the medical field, in the workplace, in our homes and different things, then it creates that space for people to feel more comfortable to say, hey, this is what's going on.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. I would add to that I think we should actually get to normalize women's health and the process of development for a woman. I have two daughters, and as they were, getting older and developing, I spoke those words through puberty. I never used street slang. I always used the actual terminology, and I would explain to them what their bodies is doing and how their bodies is changing. And so it was just normal in my family. And I don't want to get us canceled to say, to say vagina, to say, your period, to say all of these things so that they felt comfortable with knowing this is just life.
Right.
This isn't weird stuff. This isn't awkward stuff. This is just the circle of life. This is just life happening. This is me blossoming into womanhood, and I need to be aware. And so I think it's good, that we actually normalize some of these to our daughters and also to our boys,
Mhm.
because we live in a patriarchal society, and it's men that are denying those bills that we just saw, not passed in the Senate. These aren't women. Men still unfortunately carry a lot of the power. And so they're making a lot of decisions for women. And so we should normalize it to our young boys and say, as you have a process, girls have a process, and here it is. This isn't dirty. This is just natural. This is her journey to a womanhood.
Right.
You have a journey to manhood. She has a journey to womanhood.
I love what you said, Gregory, that this was just normal conversation in you
Hmm.
all's household,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I'm like, oh my God, that is so commendable because a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
of times it's not it's not a normal conversation. You're giving the the basics of okay, when you okay, you're gonna start your menstrual cycle, this is it, this is what you need to do, end of discussion. There's no other, it's nothing else with it. So that is really commendable. And we look
It
at that
is.
with a lot of women's health things. I know my mom didn't talk to me about menopause. We got the bare minimum of, with your menstrual cycle. And then even when we look in, the school systems, we might talk a little bit about the first period, but we don't talk about the last one or different things in between. And a lot of people was like, oh, you're so young. You're so young to be in menopause. And I'm just like, I know women younger than me who wanted kids and they, that opportunity was snatched away from them.
Right.
Right. So I commend your family for even having the normalizing that conversation.
Right. Right. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
You know,
I Go ahead.
no, I was gonna ask you a question, but go ahead on with that. Go ahead on.
No, I was going to say that, even sometimes in the church, I don't want to say demonize, but we put a dark cloud over the process of becoming a woman. Because when you look at
Hmm.
scripture, the way the scripture is written, we have the woman with the issue of blood.
Right.
And so
Right.
we don't know exactly what the woman's issue is. It could be anemia, it could be, a variety of things, but it's widely believed that she had an irregular cycle. And
Hmm.
so when we read the scriptures, it says the woman with an issue of blood and her issue needed to be healed. And so even though this woman we assume had an irregular cycle, it still kind of attaches itself to this normal process that this is an issue. This is an ugly secret. This is something that needs to be fixed. This is something to be shameful of, but
Right.
it's not. This woman had an issue. She had a symptom
Mhm.
that she needs to go to the doctor to be fixed. And so she went to the great physician, and the great physician fixed the issue that she had. She wasn't the issue. It was this that her body wasn't operating the way that it should have. And so
Right.
sometimes we have these stigmas that are, given to us that make us think like we shouldn't talk about these things, but we should.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That passage in the Bible is a passage that was said to me a long time ago as I was dealing with irregular cycles. And as I was dealing with the blood transfusions and the iron infusions, it's like, we're going to read this passage. We're going to pray over you. I was like, listen, I accept the prayer, but right now I just I need help. I just need help. I need to stop. I need all of this to stop like right now. And with that, you know, my husband was there. He was there through it all. Like we've been married for over 25 years now. And so he's seen every stage of it before all of this happened. Well, no. I should say way back in the day. So when it actually shown itself to really be a major issue that I had to contend with, he was there, and eventually he started asking questions like, okay, what about this and what about that? And I'm just like, I don't know. And the great researcher that he is, he began to do more research than I had done and would find doctors for me. And then, when we started our journey of trying to start our family and have kids, and I always said, I've said in the past that I didn't ask him, how are you feeling? What are your thoughts? How are you processing this every time we go to the doctor and it's a no go. I didn't really ask him that initially. It took me years before I actually sat down and said, well, how are you feeling? Okay. Like Carleeka, like how was the process for you? Right. But Gregory, I would ask you, now putting on that couples therapist hat, what advice can you give for couples, married or fiance, boyfriend or not? What advice can you give as women are going through their journey? You know, as a couple, it can get hard. It can get, trying. The times can get trying. Stress can be elevated because, hey, we're trying to do this thing and it's not happening, or I'm going through this, you don't understand how I feel, and now I'm upset because I'm trying to understand how I feel and I just don't want to talk to you right now. And so, it can be confusing of the signals that we give to our men. So what kind of advice can you give, on both sides, the man and the woman, but also as a couple, to make sure that they're not, gone, that they don't separate and go their separate ways while this is happening?
Great question, because sometimes grief does drive people apart. And there's a lot of couples that have gotten divorces because of the inability to conceive, or the trouble that they have conceiving. I think when it comes to trauma, one of the misconceptions that we, need to change is that feelings are facts. In a court of law, that's not true. In a court of law, that your feelings are not facts. But when it comes to trauma, yes, feelings are facts. And so when your husband says, I feel inadequate, I feel less than a man, I don't feel like I am, worthy, or I don't feel like I'm worthy enough to be called a man, we need to trust that those feelings are his facts. Um, I've spoken to a few guys in preparation for tonight, and it's a wide variety of feelings. Some men from being indifferent to actually borderline depression. I spoke to one guy, what one discovery that I found, that a lot of feelings are cultural. And so what's important to understand is, how does your man process pain? This one particular guy, he comes from a culture where your wealth is your family. And so your legacy is everything. And when he and his wife had trouble conceiving, he not only felt like he wasn't a good husband, but he felt like he wasn't a good son. And he
Mm.
also felt like he was letting down his family, and felt like he was letting down his country. So it's
Wow.
one thing to say, hey, you know what? We're just having a struggle right here. We're going to believe the best. We're going to trust the doctors in this process. But he felt all around, from his wife to his parents and to his country, that he was letting them down. And so he was, borderline depression. So what's important to say, honey, how are you processing this pain? Where are you at in your journey? How is this affecting you? How is this landing on you? Because you don't know unless you ask the question, right? And so
Right.
we don't know exactly the magnitude, and we say, and I think it's fair to say, this is a hack. This is a real easy one. Ask them, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard is this for you?
Mm.
And that's something that I do very regularly. On a scale of 1 to 10, how hard is this for you? And that particular gentleman said that when we were in the middle of this and we could not conceive, the weight of letting down my country felt
Wow.
like an 11. He said, I
Wow.
felt shame when I went and visited my family, because I was the only son who did not produce grandchildren.
Wow.
It was huge for him. It was huge for him. It's also important to know, okay, well, there you go. On a scale of 1 to 10, you're an 11. We also don't want to neglect how a man processes pain, which is something I spoke about earlier. And so, one particular gentleman that I know of, the way that he processed pain is that he put it behind him. And so, when he and his wife conceived, but they lost the child in the third trimester. And
Mm.
so, after the loss, he went to work that following Monday,
Wow.
because it was too painful to look at. And so he just wanted to move forward instead of deal with what was in front of him. And oftentimes, I think women can misconstrue that as, he don't care, he wasn't as attached to the child as I am. Actually, that's him saying, I'm too scared to feel. I'm
Mhm.
too
Mhm.
afraid to feel. And
Mhm.
so, are you processing your pain, or are you avoiding your pain? I'm gonna tell you
Wow.
this: 60% of men avoid pain. They don't
Mhm.
process it. They go back to work. They go hit the gym a little harder. They stay later at work. They do extra projects around the house. They start painting. They start building. They start doing these things. 60% of men would rather avoid pain than to process it. And
Wow.
so, if you want to save your man from a heart attack 5 years down the road, you say, sir, I need you to stop, and I need you to process, and I need you to talk to somebody, because if you keep holding this in, this is going to kill you. And it's going to take years off of our time together, because
Right.
you haven't properly dealt with this. And so it could be a very serious issue. And like I said, the men that I surveyed before our conversation tonight had a wide variety of opinions, from it was God's will to I was letting down my country. And so ask your partner, sir, babe, boo, honey, On a scale of 1 to 10, how hard is this for you? And
I
if he
love.
says, if it's above a 5, you need to get him help.
Right, right. Before we move too far, I want to bring up what Kiki says. She says, that was powerful. Feelings are facts because, yikes, I had a come to Jesus moment with my family and currently in marriage therapy about this. So, absolutely, feelings are facts. And good evening, Gerard. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here with us. I read that refusing to process pain, one of the leading reasons that we are depressed.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Refusing to process pain. And I will say, even adding to that, it's not just men, Gregory, okay? Because I was not processing anything, okay?
Hmm. Hmm.
I was called the queen of avoidance. And somebody at work called me that. I was just like, you watching me too close. Because I wouldn't get into it with people. And she basically says, why are you always smiling? Why are you always so happy? I'm just like, what's the problem? But here's the thing, I was suffering in silence for one.
Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
want to let people in. I was suffering from shame of not being able to get pregnant and have children when everybody around me was, they were having children. I was also dealing with the extra weight, dealing with all the things that came with PCOS, dealing with, you know, not having the best conversations with my husband because I didn't know how to talk about whatever I was feeling and I didn't want to talk about it because I felt that I was too emotional to talk about it. And so I didn't process anything either. I would put it in a cute little bow, put a cute little bow on top, put it in the back of my mind, like I'm not dealing with it. Like I'll save it for another day. So,
Yeah.
a lot of women I know from, especially with dealing with PCOS, and I can only speak from this area because I haven't dealt with a lot of the other reproductive health challenges. Thank God for that. But with PCOS, there's a lot of shame that comes with it because one, especially with hair growing on your face, like that's a man's thing, as we know it. Men have hair on their face, they grow a beard, they grow a mustache. I don't want either one, okay? But again, when you start talking about the health challenges and the signs and symptoms that comes with it, it can bring a lot of shame. Like people are not gonna be looking at you. Y'all gonna be looking at my face a little closer now to see if there's a shadow on there anywhere. Yeah, I have a shadow, y'all, because I'm a girl. I will keep it cute. However, there's a lot of shame that will come and that has come. And so they won't say anything, they won't talk about it, and they won't deal with it because now I don't even want the doctor to see me like this. So no, I don't have anything going on. Yes, you do. We are here, and this is just another call, just to say, hey, be an advocate for yourself, speak up for yourself. But you can't be an advocate if you won't speak the truth about what's really going on with you. So, as Carleeka said, you are the best representation. You are with you 24/7. So, make sure that you are tracking and trending and able to share with what it is you're going through. And so, Gregory, I appreciate you saying um, about avoidance, or are you processing? Are you processing the pain or are you avoiding the pain? And I was still that, I would say still to this day, I haven't really had that deep, deep conversation with my husband, even from years ago, because I still carry some, feelings from all of the years that we had gone through. But this is just prompting me to have even another conversation with him because I
Yeah.
really want to know how he's feeling. And really on a day-to-day basis, I want to know, do I really, do I really, okay? Do I
I
really?
think if I could just coach you for 90 seconds,
Yes.
I would say this to you. I would say, talk about your journey without comparison to others, because comparison kills. What
Right.
happens is that we look at our neighbors to the left and to the right and what they have and what we don't. And when you talk about your pain, talk about the journey that is unique to you. I would, I encourage couples to go to their spouse and just say, let's talk about the path that we are on. Let's not talk about the neighbors, the Johnsons, the whoever. Let's talk about us and the steps that we are taking. And is this leading us to a fun, fulfilling, and fruitful life? And if
Right.
not, how can we get there?
Right.
Because I want this journey with you. So, how can we get there together? And we got to get there together by me being transparent with you. And this is how this journey is affecting me.
Wow.
And then, because a lot of times people look at, especially men, look at vulnerability as some type of weakness. But at its best, Vulnerability is actually direction. Vulnerability tells your person, this is how I need to be loved. Vulnerability says, this is what hurts, so don't do that. I'm
Mm,
directing you on how to love me. So vulnerability is actually strength because you're giving someone directions on how to love you best.
right.
And, and so when you have that conversation with your husband, which I encourage you to do, don't speak about what is lost. Speak about what can we build going forward. Here are the bricks that we have to work with.
Right.
What do we want to build with these bricks?
I love it. I appreciate that. I'm gonna send you an offering, okay? Uh,
Okay.
listen.
Look, Tameka, because he already said right at the beginning. He told him it's gonna cost him, but he said, I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you 90 seconds. Okay, I gave you
Right.
90 seconds, but that's amazing because
right,
I think a lot of times just with life and family and all of the things we get so in the routine of things, right?
right,
That we don't take time to really pour into one another because okay, if what they say, what doesn't need to explain, right? Whatever that whole saying is, right
What's
there,
understood doesn't need to be explained.
right? What's
right,
understood doesn't need to be explained, but some things are not understood, right? Some things are far from, some things are just assumptions and all of the
right.
things, but that's not really where I'm coming from. And so I love that. And I mean, because we're being transparent, I won't go into deep detail, but my husband and I had to do that, right? To really come to terms of what does our journey look like for us?
Hmm.
And how are we moving forward?
Right.
Even when it's causing us to have to deal with childhood traumas and all of the things,
Hmm.
right? But how are we moving what does our journey look like? What does our happiness look like together, individually, as a whole unit with our whole family and different things? And I can definitely say I'm happy where we have taken, like Gregory said, those bricks. I'll say, because if you know, you know. Okay. Right? If you know, it was only a short while ago that we
Right.
was right there at divorce, right? And we're just being transparent. I know we're talking about reproductive health, but when you have toxic relationships or when you have burdens internally that's weighing on you, it affects your reproductive health as well. It affects you mentally, it affects your menstrual cycle, it affects your hormones, it affects your
Right.
sleep, it affects you conceiving, the stress, the burdens, the worry, depression, all of these things, it ties in and it affects every one of our bodily systems. And since tonight we're specifically talking about reproductive health, it affects your reproductive health as well. So it's like, it's not just one thing, right? It's all of the things that we're saying, let's put it all on the table. Let's see where we're strongest at right now. And then let's see the areas that, okay, we still a little shaky over here. Let's work on this part, but really coming together. And when you really make up in your mind that this is the person that I want to do life with, this is the person that I want to lean on and have that shoulder to cry on. This is the person that I want to tell all of the good, the favorable, the unfavorable, all of the things. Then we'll have these, what they call them, hard conversations, or like Kiki said, the come to Jesus moments or the come to Jesus conversations. And I believe God delights in that as well, because it's healing for all parties. When the men, our partners in our lives, heal, it really trickles down, and you can see um, just a rebirthing and different things happen in your whole household,
Right.
right? Just from one person really saying, I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm going to be committed to really having open communication and stuff. So thank you, Gregory. Y'all, all I'm saying, do we need to just have a couple session, all the couples fireside with Gregory?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, Gregory, if you have any last words to share when it comes
Yeah.
to men, one being a support, but also
Yeah.
women being a support to their men as well, because it's not just the women who need support. We also have to figure out and find ways to support our men who are going through as well.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think it's important. What I would like to tell all men is that you deserve to grieve also. You deserve to have your feelings acknowledged also, and that you're a partner in her pain, because when you love someone, when they bleed, you bleed, and you can't
Right,
deny it. If you
right,
love this woman, when she hurts, you're going to hurt. And that pain deserves to be acknowledged and processed as well. Don't run from it, process it. So,
right.
what I would encourage men to do as the leaders of their home is to allow time for both of you to be heard. This is what I would do. I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just offering a suggestion. I would say have 2 nights a week, one where you bathe her and one night where she bathes you. And the night that she's in the tub, she gets to let her heart out to you, and you take care of her for that night. And the other night she bathes you, you get to let your heart out, and she hears your heart for that time. Take time, men. Make it a regimen that says, this is your night that I take care of you, and here's the night that you take care of me. Because if we're going to make it through life together, we're going to have to heal each other from time to time. I'm going to have to hold you up, and you're going to have to hold me up. And let's not forget that we're here to support each other. Because if you fall, I fall, and
Right.
we're not going to fall. We're going to win. So, men, hey, your feelings are important. They deserve to be acknowledged. They deserve to be processed. And I know that a lot of men feel struggle with saying, I don't know what to do, because as men, we want to fix the problem. And this is a problem that sometimes is bigger than us. It's big, we don't have all the tools or the resources to snap our fingers and make this right. But as her partner and as a woman, it is our responsibility to walk with her. You cannot fix the problem, but you can make sure she doesn't have to go through it by herself. And that's the best thing that you can do, sir.
Oh, that's amazing. Listen, if y'all just tuning in, make sure y'all catch the replay on this, right? We're not done. We're not done. We still have a little bit more to go, because I want this fireside chat to really be as impactful as we can make it. And it has been. I'm going to go back and take some notes. That's all I have to say, because again, the information that Gregory is sharing, Carleeka is sharing when it comes to one, um, just the journey, as well as how we are communicating with each other, how we're supporting each other, how we can grow closer even in the midst of our journeys, is important. So I'm going to ask that you all share this broadcast. If you haven't, share the broadcast, because we still have a little bit to go. We're not done just yet. So thank you all for staying with us for, at this moment right here. But as we've been sharing about, the reproductive system, reproductive health, I'm sorry, reproductive health, as a woman going through, as a couple going through, but also I want to hit on the workplace, reproductive health and in the workplace. And so with Carleeka, Carleeka is our corporate menopause consultant, and she's all things menopause. There's a statistic that I came across. It says that around 25% of women in the U.S. experience severe symptoms of menopause, with many reporting that it significantly affects their productivity and performance at work. And so I know that you've done a lot of research and a lot of work in the area of menopause when it comes to women, not only learning, but thriving in the workplace with menopause. So as we, shift a little bit, we're still going to be talking about all this good stuff, but we're going to shift a little bit to now women in the workplace. And how do we deal? What do we do? Like, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've come across, Carleeka, with women in the workplace as they are navigating, reproductive health, specifically menopause? What kind of challenges have you seen?
Once again, it goes back to advocating, just being afraid to speak up, right? Not knowing, should I go to HR? Should I go to my manager? Should I have the conversation just with a couple of my, coworkers that I have a great rapport with, but yet and still we're not going to solve anything, right? Us just having these conversations, but I'm really not sharing what I'm going through at this moment in my life with maybe my direct manager. So a lot of times, and it's not just a one-way street, it's employers and employees. How can we work together to come up with systems in place to make a more menopause friendly workplace? How can we come together to have more of a more positive workplace culture? And this deals with our health and everything. So I know we probably all heard it in onboarding. Hey, leave all your problems on the outside. Well, you know what? I don't get to do that, right? None of us do. That's not even logical. It's not realistic. And the people saying it, they don't leave their problems out on the outside either, right? It's like, if my toe was hurting, you want me to leave my whole foot in the car? Are you kidding me? Right? So I don't know when I'm gonna have a hot flash, and that may not be your symptom. That has been one of the things that I've dealt with. So I can be at work, and one minute I'm cool, and the next minute I'm just like, oh, I gotta go. But if you're afraid because you're afraid someone's watching you, how many more breaks you gonna take? Not realizing that you don't know what condition or whatever I might be dealing with. So instead of reprimanding me, did you ask a question? You notice that someone who's normally on time, right? Now their absenteeism is increasing. Or there's a thing called presenteeism, where you can be present somewhere, but you there physically, but you really not there, right? You're not really there mentally. And then your manager or whoever keeps coming to you, hey, here goes some more work. Here goes some more work. Not realizing maybe you didn't sleep that well the night before because of night sweats, right? You got one leg out the bed, cover on and off. You got the air conditioner down to like 60 or 65. Everyone else in your house got, hoodies, and they all around here cold and all, but you better not touch that thermostat or the ceiling fan or the fan on the nightstand, right? But perhaps you didn't sleep well. So now you're being a little late. So what kind of conversations can we have to just bring that awareness to the workplace that, yes, it can affect a productivity? Now you're finding more women like, you know what? I'm just going to quit. Right? I'm gonna find something else. People are becoming more bolder in that aspect, and so now you have all of this talent leaving out of the workplace, all because we didn't have a conversation, or there wasn't support in place, or women are not speaking up because you don't want to feel like, okay, here we go again, or you have men that's like, okay, here they go again. They want special treatment, right? And it's not special treatment. It's just, at this time, this is what I'm dealing with. And it's a few things that we can do. Okay, is it any way that I can flex my schedule a little bit? Okay, I know every workplace is not, you can't do that. Okay, is it okay? Do you have a room that's a little bit cooler than the rest of the building, right? I mean, when we think of even women who are breastfeeding, it was just recently that you found more workplaces having actual lactation rooms, or somewhere where a woman can pump. Other than that, it's still a lot of workplaces who don't have it. And you're literally okay with the woman going in the bathroom with this breast pump, okay, pumping, sitting on the toilet because it's not comfortable in the bathroom, right? It's not a luxury bathroom or anything, where you could have just had something set to the, another room somewhere else, a little more private and a little more relaxing, because this is how she's feeding her child, right? But she has to come to work and she's away from home. So when we think of this, it's knowing your rights as an employee. I'm not telling people to change your whole employee handbook. You still have to have standards and policies and procedures in place. But you have to talk to people and know your employees one-on-one. If you know one person always coming to work, because you're always going to have people that abuse systems, right? I don't care what's in the handbook. Someone's that grace period, that means they can be, for them in their head, they can be late every day because I made it by the grace, right? I got there with that last 5 minutes. But, they come up with all of the things. But instead of reprimanding, a lot of women don't speak up because they're afraid they're going to get fired. They're afraid they're going to become, there's going to be a target. Some women are in senior management roles, right? And so they're the supervisors, they're the directors, and they're like, okay, if I say this, I don't want to be singled out. So Tameka, like you were saying, the weight gain, all of these things, that affects people's self-esteem and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
If a woman is dealing with brain fog, do you really think she want to get up and do a presentation? Embarrassed that she gonna forget certain things, right? And if she don't know how to, okay, hold on, let me get my notes, because y'all know me. If it ain't calendar, it don't exist. So look, you have to find ways that you can help you, but then how do we build that team member and team building in the workplace, that when you recognize that someone is looking overwhelmed, when you recognize that, I mean, we even think to this day the grief policy is still the same. You get 3 days and then they expect you to come back to work after you buried your child or after you buried your mom or someone close to you. 3 days? And then threatened. I've heard people be threatened that if they don't come back, they're going to lose their job.
Mm.
Or people are forced to come back because of finances and different things, right? But I've heard I knew a coworker, child passed away, and she came back to work. But of course, she was still grieving. And I heard other people like, dang, every time she walked past something or something, she always crying. And I was just like, she just buried her child only like a week ago. What expect? And we have to carry her workload. But if we're building a workplace culture that's more positive and showing more compassion, no one's saying don't to take all of her work, but how can we lend a helping hand to someone to say, hey, I had coworkers, you all, I mean, when I said they was bringing me all kind of apparatuses to work, I show up at work, they done brought little fans, little air conditioner things that you soak it in water, put it in the freezer. They bought me the one that looked like headphones that go around your neck. But I thought just those small acts of kindness went a long way. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to think about, in the workplace, with there being so many, gaps with pay and all of these different things with women. A lot of times people don't want to speak up. I would encourage managers and different ones, before you reprimand, if we're going to have an open door policy that you have in your nice little organized employee handbook, then make sure it's a real open door. And when it's an open door, my conversation is closed and confidential, though.
I love that. Along with that, Gregory, if you don't
Yep.
mind sharing on, the thought processes of a woman in the workplace, right? Of people in the workplace, I would say. We're talking about corporate America, and how women are having to deal, and having to work around the system to make sure that they have what it is that they need. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think number one, and it's going to sound maybe a bit harsh, but don't go to work expecting grace. Don't go to work expecting friendships. Don't go to work expecting people to actually care. I think we go to work expecting respect. We should go to work expecting fair treatment, sure, yes, but corporate America generally only cares about the bottom line. But here's what we can do is that we can compare the policies to other companies. I know that at one company, they had employees had a PTO bank, paid time off bank, where employees were able to share their PTO with a fellow employee who was going through a troubling time. And that could be something that you could present to your manager or higher ups and say, here are some changes I think would be great for our company, our institution, and present them with things that can be changed. Um, it's got to be. I've never been a woman before, but I would say this.
You don't want to be one, okay? Take it
No,
away.
no, oh no. It's being a woman is much harder than being a man. Men, we have it easy in so many ways compared to what it's like being a woman. But I would say this: even at your job, try to find a tribe. Try to find some women that have walked the same path that you're walking, that are maybe possibly a few steps further down the road than you that can kind of be a guide or give you wisdom. And there is where you can find your encouragement. If you can find one person, you're blessed to find two, you're doubly blessed if you can find three, to just say, hey, can we just have lunch? And someone that you can vent with, that you can have, take a break with and go, I just need to get this off my chest. You'll find that that helps you get through the day a lot faster. And know that your value is never going to be defined in corporate America. Your value is who you are to the people that love you, and your value is the legacy that you leave behind. And maybe your legacy is at that job. How do I carry myself with grace during such a troubling, difficult time? And I think everything that Carleeka just spoke about is how a woman carries herself with grace. And maybe that's the testimony for you there at that moment in time. And so, but try to find you someone that you can relate to help you get through that 9 to 5, because it's got to be hard.
Absolutely. Carleeka, I have a question for you when it comes to women in the workplace and the misconceptions, for women.
Mm-hmm.
What are some misconceptions about menopause and how it affects Black women in particular? Like, what are some misconceptions?
Well, a lot of times because of the lack of awareness, right? Even in the workplace, but we can't even expect the awareness to be in the workplace when the awareness is not even at home. So, right?
Ouch.
So, you have these teams and things that people can create in the workplace. Right. So I'm a go-to person in the workplace because I talk about it all the time. Right. I don't tell them what I do on the outside, but when they see me take the lab coat off and then I put it back on and I'm doing this all night and and then I have my fan and all of these different things with me. I'm like, yeah, I'm just having a hot flash. And so then they're like, oh, me too. I'm like, why are you whispering? Like, this is not a secret. Let the secret out. You're just having a hot flash. It's going to go away. So some of those misconceptions that everyone's journey is not the same. That's number one, right? Everyone's journey to menopause is not the same. You might go through perimenopause, which is 8 to 10 years. You might be like me that had a total hysterectomy and I woke up like that, right? I woke up without my uterus and all my reproductive organs. I woke up like that. Some women, it's medically, right? Because they had chemo and different things too. So we have to, when we understand that everyone's journey is not a one size fits all. And then a lot of times with Black women, we do start earlier, right? Early 30s, we start seeing some symptoms, but a lot of times we don't know because our stress levels have been all the way up here. Like all our life, what they say, all my life I had to fight, right? So you're fighting in the workplace, you're fighting for things at home, you're fighting for things at church, you're fighting all of these things, or you're being pulled so many directions. So a lot of times, a lot of people, women, we don't even realize it, or I feel a little off, or something's I feel a little fatigued, but then we just keep going and keep going and keep going without really taking time to analyze, okay, let me just pause a minute to see what's going on in my life. And like Gregory said earlier, sometimes it's certain triggers to things. So for myself, I noticed at a place I was working at, I would always have more hot flashes than normal. And I was like, why when I come here, I'm having all these, but then is when a certain person would start talking to me, they even I felt like heart palpitations and stuff. And I was just like, oh, he's the source of my irritation. Right. So instead of me just expressing like, hey, can you quit talking? I couldn't just say, he was my supervisor. Can you quit talking to me? Right. But there were certain things that he shouldn't have said, right? Such as, do you want to stick your head in a freezer? I don't. Wow. Right. So we need Cartia on that end for the legal stuff. That's not okay to say, right? It's not okay to say those things. But I had to figure out, while I'm here, how can I help me to stay calm and different things, because I was the only one suffering with the hot flash. Okay. I was the only one suffering. So how can I help me? So when we think of even Black women with menopause and some of those misconceptions of, one misconception that used to really be out there, you would have thought that Black women, other ethnicities didn't have it because you didn't even see representation of us on Google or online. I know when I was all I saw was an old wrinkled white woman, and I said, "Oh, baby, I'm not wrinkled. I'm not white." Um, right. And so the misconception of, okay, we can handle things, we can handle pain harder and different things, all of these misconceptions of what pain is pain. No one should have to suffer in pain. If there's a treatment plan that you're eligible to take, and I say eligible because we don't know everyone's medical history. We don't know everyone's medical conditions of how healthy they are now. So everyone's not a candidate for certain treatment plans such as HRT, hormone replacement therapy. Everyone can't take it. So do you say, okay, because you can't have this, or everyone can't even afford it? I remember when that doctor told me it was going to be like $600 something every 3 weeks for an injection. I was just like,
wow.
Who?
Wow.
Who? Right. But then can we take those misconceptions and be more proactive by, one, bringing awareness, two, making lifestyle changes that don't cost us anything, right? It really costs us some discipline. Right. So those lifestyle changes. So for myself, I never had HRT or any of those things. Do your research, know your health, know your body, know your family's medical history as well. But we're saying no woman left behind, because just because you may not be a candidate, whether that's financially or because of your own medical history or anything, there are things that you can do so that you can thrive in life while navigating these changes, because we're always navigating some transition, right? Someone is going from being married to divorce. Someone is getting married, from being divorced to married. You're going from having no kids to, I don't know, 3-4 kids, whatever that looks like. You're going from a minimum wage paying job to now you're a CEO or something, right? We're always having a transition in our life. But I do say we need to know our rights. And it's not just a one-way street conversation. It's all of us working together in the workplace for support. And for the betterment of the company. Gregory said it best. Companies in corporate, they just looking at the profitability. But when they really start looking at this is affecting people's performance, which affects your profitability, if this is affecting my productivity, now you're overworking other people and they don't like that. Okay, so now let me get on Google and start searching and putting my resume back out there, because you're not going to overwork me, but you don't want to pay me more money, right? So if you're looking at performance and you're looking at productivity and you're looking at absenteeism, it does affect your profitability, simply because it's going to cost you more money to get someone else in there, and potentially not even with the same skill set of someone who's been there.
I love that. I love that. I have another question for you, but before we get to that question, I want to go to the comments real quick, because I've been missing out on these comments. Listen, I thank y'all for comments, and I thank y'all for being here with us. We're going to get to a few of these real quick, and then we're going to hop back to you, because Carleeka, I have a question. One of the questions that one of the comments that Gerard made earlier was that, how do we feel about couples turning to adoption when they can't have kids themselves? I think this was earlier when you first began speaking, Carleeka, about menopause and now not being able to have children, especially if you are young and having to go through menopause at a young age. But I want to ask you and Gregory this. Like, I think this comes at both sides. Like, as a woman who may not be able to have children, how would you feel about adoption? And then for you, Gregory, when it comes to the couples and they're navigating that arena of, okay, we can't have children on our own, but what do we think about adoption? Because I, for one, we considered adoption. We actually went through the whole process, home study and all, paid money for everything and all, and still it did not work. It was a lot of red tape when it came to adoption on my side. So what do you think about that, Carleeka, being on, women in menopause and women who may be going through menopause or facing menopause right now? What are your thoughts on that?
I would definitely say it's like menopause is individual, right? Where every woman is going to get there. How you get there, we don't know. What symptoms you're going to have, we really don't know. I don't know what symptoms you'll have today, tomorrow, next week, in the next 5 years, if you have any. So I would tell anyone, it's really your decision, right? And making sure that you're going to be you're in a right mental space to make that decision. because this is not, once again, this is not, do you want peanut M&Ms or you want plain, right? This is saying we're taking on this responsibility, right?
Yeah.
But it is a solution. And if we're not going to just solely focus on the problem, then this is a solution. But I would definitely say you need to make sure that you're in a space that you're willing to take on the full capacity and responsibility of adopting.
I love that. Gregory?
Well, hey, I'm a advocate for adoption. I am adopted myself, so shout out to all the people
Oh,
that have
wow.
adopted children. Yeah, I think it's a great choice to make. I'm a little biased, of course. I do understand that, but I do think that because my mother, of course, my adopted mother, she had a hysterectomy at 36, I believe it was, and so and up until that time, didn't have children. Well, she did have one child, but it passed away very early. And so, adoption was their only choice, my parents' only choice, and so they had me. But I do understand the struggle with that. I respect that a lot of couples look at that as a concession, as kind of a second place prize. We didn't get the gold, but hey, we got the silver. But I would say that. Uh, it's not a concession, it's not a runner up, it's just your path. And when you
Right.
honor your path, you can find that it could be a tremendous blessing to you. You may not have been blessed the way you want to be, but God still can bless you in a way that He wants you to be. So you honor that, how God wants to bless you. It may not look the way that you want it to be, but it could still be just as fulfilling, just as fun, just as exciting, just as loving. And so I'm so solely for it completely.
I love that. Um, adoption wasn't a silver prize for me. I've always wanted to adopt children since I was a young girl. I was just like, when I grow up, I'm gonna build this big house and I'm
Hmm.
adopting all the kids in the system because they all need love. They all need a house. They just need somebody to love them and care for them. And so my husband said, "Yeah, no, we're not doing that. Not all of them. Not all of them. We can't take
Aw.
all of them, right?" But I've always had a heart for wanting to adopt children because one, I went going through school, you see so many children getting abused and not taken care of. And I'm just like, I just wish I could do something. And I'm just like, I can't do anything. I'm a kid myself, but I was always, come on home with me. Just come on, come, Big Mama. It's okay. Come on to Big Mama's house. So I was always bringing somebody home to get a good meal before they went home. And it's always that care. And so again, as Arad asked the question, he also says that some jobs offer help with adoption services, and it's true. Nowadays, it's true. I remember it wasn't that way back in the day. As well for me, it wasn't that way. It was everything out of pocket. But nowadays, there are some jobs that will offer help with adoption services. So if you are interested in adoption, look into your job and see if they offer benefits that'll help. Kiki, she mentioned that especially now we have 3 to 4 generations in the same workplace nowadays. So having a positive work culture can make a difference and raise awareness regarding health. So thank you for that. Um, and then Gerard comes and he says that some companies have business or employee resource groups to help with these types of challenges as well. They're called BRGs and ERGs. I know of ERGs. I think Gerard said they're now being called BRGs, that have groups where you support and help you work through and provide resources and provide access to resources that'll help you. And so here's the last question before we move on to our last question. Gerard asks, how much can counseling and therapy help with menopause? So, Carleeka, you and Gregory, I would love for both of you to answer on that. He says, or is it strictly just with using medicine? So, Carleeka, I'll ask you first.
So no, it's not strictly with medicine. I feel amazing and I did not have any medicine, okay? But once again, you have to do your research. You have to seek and know what your medical professionals, whether that is your therapist, right,
Right.
and your primary physician, your OBGYN. I feel like all of these entities you need to have conversation with in making the best informed decision for you, right? And so, can counseling and therapy help? I say absolutely, holistically in different things, because menopause is not just symptoms. It is emotional, it is psychological, it is mental, it is financial, right? It's all of those things, right? The mood swings and everything. But some of that, like, we can't blame everything on menopause. Like, I won't even allow a woman to do that, or anyone. You can't blame your bad attitude all the time on menopause. No,
You shout.
right? I'm positive, right? It's some
Woo!
things that are
My
rooted,
mama.
maybe your trauma that you have not dealt with, and you can't use menopause as a crutch to make an excuse for yourself of why, well, I think I'm just going through the change. I think I'm just having my own personal summers, right? But no. So Gerard, to that, I say definitely counseling and therapy, because this is going to allow you to navigate those parts that people can't see, right? And that's that mental and emotional and psychological, and just being aware of what's going on internally. So I encourage people, yes, get counseling, because your depression probably didn't just start when you hit menopause.
Right,
Wow.
right. You
Wow,
know,
that hit me in my shanana.
well, come on up out the
Yeah.
Shana Nine. Come on and talk to us, Gregory. Okay, talk to us, because again, have you ever had conversations with women who were facing or in menopause and dealing with all of the things that come with menopause, but also some outside things like Carleeka just said, depression, but it didn't come because you started menopause. There are other factors that they may have been dealing with as well. And what are your
Of
thoughts?
of course, we all are carrying some baggage behind this as well. But then also, this transition does bring its own unique challenges to the clients that I've spoken to. They will speak about the lack of intimacy now that this is brought in their marriage, and her not feeling like a great wife, and him not feeling desirable. So there's some ripple effects to it that is presented when a woman's going through this particular transition in life. But I totally agree with Carleeka. Everything that she said, I echo it. We are three components. We are mind, body, and spirit, and we're only able to operate at our highest and best potential when all three of those parts of who we are operating in unison. And so when we have that choreography down, where I'm taking care of myself spiritually, physically, and emotionally, then we are able to show up as our best self. But if we're
Right.
neglecting one of those areas, then there's some brokenness there, and it's going to show in our attitude and our communications, in the way that we perform. We're not going to be able to operate at our highest potential. And so absolutely, I think that we should always be looking at ourselves holistically, and from a 360 perspective, and go, hey, maybe Gregory's not the person that I should call. Maybe I need to talk to Tameka today, because she knows a little bit more about this specific thing than he would. And so, yeah, absolutely, 1,000%.
Call me if you want to. I'm gonna say you call Gregory, okay? I have resources. I have resources. I've told everybody I will help you with everything that I can help you with, but emotions is just not it. Okay.
Mm,
Life, I can't tell you how to do things in life. That is not. I'm not going to ever try to do that. But I have people who can. Okay, I refer to my people. I'm surrounded by some good, solid people. So yeah, reach on out to me. I want you to, because I want to see you healthy. I want to see you whole. I want to see you happy. And I'm going to connect you with exactly who you need to talk to, that's going to help you get to that point. So
I have a
as we wrap
question
up, yeah.
before we wrap up. Um, I am entering into a season in my where I've seen that a lot of women around me are starting to experience. I think it's called perimenopause, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to be educated here. Um, how can I help the women that are around me understand what's going on in their world, and what are some signs that I could say, you may want to Google this, and maybe it could be this? What are some things I can see in the women around me to make me kind of go, you maybe menopause, and not come across like some Neanderthal,
Let me put
just
the
because she
expert up
because
here.
she has a bad day,
You
So
ask the question, I bring
I
the
would
resource.
definitely recommend, and like you said, because you don't want to come off like, ooh, you might be going through menopause, right? And then they looking like, I'm not going through menopause.
Oh, you kind of clammy today.
Right. So I would definitely say in having that conversation, encourage them to really start tracking and trending and writing down just about everything, right? How they're feeling today, triggered. And if she has a bad attitude, Gerard.
It would be
Oh
Gerard.
God. So in having that conversation, but I would encourage her to have her hormonal labs checked, right? So then she can see her levels as well with her hormones, as because that's an indicator, low estrogen, different things like that. But really just paying attention to her own body to say, okay, are my hormones off? Paying attention to her cycle more, right? Is it staying a little longer, or is it not staying long at all, or is it not, or is she not having her cycle for a month here or a spot in here? And so it's really all of those things, paying attention, and then making the appointment to ask the OBGYN, have, I know we have physicals and different things like that, but really saying, hey, now I can go in with my data to my doctor and say, hey, my cycle did not come on for 2 months and no, I'm not pregnant. Okay. Or, hey, I noticed that I feel a little more irritated, or I'm having hot flashes, or I'm having some joint pain or I'm gaining weight, but I'm eating the same and I'm exercising the same, but I seem to be packing on a few pounds. Right. And so paying attention to all those things, sleep habits, eating habits, moods. Am I being a little more irritated? Am I being a little more snappy? And really having people around her to notice certain things too, without, like you said, without judging, but just being, observing.
Aware, right? What's the difference between perimenopause and actual menopause?
So perimenopause is that time frame that could last 8 to 10 years. And that's when it's almost like, I like to explain it, where your hormones are kind of trying to just figure out, right? So your cycle may not show up, or is not as heavy, or is very light, or once again, you may not have it. Okay, I didn't have my cycle for 3 months. I didn't have my cycle for 6 months. That transition of this hormonal imbalance that's going on with everything. And a lot of women are like, I just feel like I'm losing my mind. Like, I just feel like I'm all over the place. But that perimenopause is a long stretch, right? And so you figure someone starting at 30, and the median age of a menopausal woman is 51. Typically, Black women typically start earlier, and that's early 30s, 35, and then early 40s. Because you're thinking a median age of 51. My God, if I'm already starting at 30 something, I'm already hitting like that early menopausal stage. And then menopause is literally when you have not had your cycle for 12 consecutive months. So you can you can not have your cycle for 11 whole months, and it can show up at the end of December, and that count starts all over again. So menopause is actually only one day. Once you haven't had the cycle for 12 consecutive months, that's menopause. The next day, you're a postmenopausal woman. And that transition, now you're a postmenopausal woman forever. Like we don't go back, right? We don't go back and be like, oh, I'm gonna be menopause. No, now you're a postmenopausal woman. You've already went through that transition. And so someone who's had a hysterectomy, a total hysterectomy, I woke up as a menopausal woman. Right. So I didn't have that transition of all that time frame. I just woke up, what they say, I woke up like this, right? So I automatically was thrown into menopause, and I woke up as a postmenopausal woman. And a lot of times when we see the health charts of at 40, do this, at this age, you should do this, right? We don't see anything on that chart that says, hey, get your levels of something checked to see, are you starting to transition into menopause or perimenopause? But that goes to with knowing some of your family's medical history as well, to give you maybe some kind of, not a concrete timeline, but some type of timeline to say, hey, my mom started having these symptoms at 35, right? And though you might not at least I have a little bit of like, okay, I possibly could be, but then if I have nothing to measure it by, right, now I have to go in and making sure that I'm asking the right questions and going to my doctor with information.
Right.
Yeah. Tameka, I got one last question. I'm gonna let you have your show
No,
back.
you're fine.
Um,
Kanye. Kanye.
given that medical history is private and personal, in your experience, do you think a woman should tell her employer, hey, I'm going through menopause, so you may see some changes in me or my productivity, or, as I get accustomed to this new stage? Or should she just go in, keep it to herself?
So in my experience, I would definitely say, because like you said, we're not obligated to tell our medical history. I would say tell them what you're comfortable with, right? So for me, I was comfortable letting people know in the workplace that, hey, no, I'm having a hot flash. Like, this is what it is, or whatever. I wouldn't preface, because I can't tell you day by day that I'm gonna be absent. I can't tell you that I'm gonna be late. Once again, we're not gonna use menopause as a crutch or an excuse. But
Right.
if I start seeing the pattern that I'm really not sleeping well, but this goes to where your employer, especially your direct manager, you get to know your employees too. So when one of your employees that normally show up is sick, like if they call out, 9 times out of 10 they like real sick because they never really call out, right? So the same way you looking at trends with your employees, and the ones that you can count on and all of these things, I wouldn't preface, like I would never go in the office and say, hey, look, now I think I'm going through menopause, so I might be late. I might not just show up. Matter of fact, I might quit, right? I wouldn't go in prefacing like that, but as I saw my sleep pattern or something change, I would have the conversation, even if I don't say menopause. Hey, I haven't been sleeping well, so that's why I've been late, and I'm not making an excuse for myself. But is there any way that I could work remotely a couple of days out the week? Is there any way that I could change my hours just for a short period of time till I figure out what's going on with me? Now we can just have this open dialogue without you really knowing all of my personal business. So I definitely say, depending on how comfortable you are with sharing certain things. So it's like when I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, right? I didn't know what was going on. I just knew something was going on. But once I did, I'm just an open person like that. I want people to know, because if you're thinking it's one thing, but it's really affected me this way, I believe I have a responsibility to let you know how something is affecting me, even if I don't give the actual medical condition. And employers have to be careful, because certain things are covered under the ADA, American Disability Act. A woman having anything done to her reproductive system can fall under the ADA. So we see this whole clause of sex and gender and age and all of these things, and a lot of people equate menopause to old age.
Yeah, that was going to be my next concern. That if a woman expressed that in the workplace, that could probably create some stress on her, that she's not looked at as competitive or as effective, and that they may want to demote or even quietly try to push her out to get someone in younger.
And that's why I was probably that's when you really know your employee rights. And if you don't understand, then you contact Carleeka Basnight. Employee law is her thing, right? So that we can learn, because if those discriminatory things start coming up, then once again, you know how to track and trend and keep your notes and different things, and know your chain of command at your particular workplace.
Right.
So I don't feel like you have to disclose, hey, I have this, but hey, this is what's going on with me right now. Is there a way that we can do this that's going to be beneficial for both of us?
I love that. Gregory.
Yes, ma'am.
Any more questions? I like this.
I got a ton of questions.
Okay. No, I'm gonna stop. Am I gonna be able to go to bed tonight with
y'all? I know. Listen, you're the expert. We are here to share. We're here to share some insights, give people some good information, because there is somebody in the audience They have tuned in, they're going to tune in, and they're going to catch the replay, and they're going to see Carleeka Basnight-Menendez. They're like, you know what? We need this conversation in my workplace. And I want them to be able to contact you. I want them to hear the expert knowledge that's coming out of your mouth. I want them to hear the experience that's coming out of your mouth. Because when they need somebody that looks like them, that can understand what they're going through, that has the capability to speak the language of corporate to their employers, give a wellness presentation or a workshop as it deals with menopause, I want them to think of Carleeka Basnight-Menendez, okay? So I'm sorry for keeping you this late. I know you're tired. Listen, y'all give her a round of applause. I know I can't see y'all, but do it virtually. Right? Oh, we appreciate you for being here. So listen, you all, this has been absolutely amazing. The conversation has been past what I thought it was going to be, what I had planned for it to be. But again, I didn't want to cut it short because the conversation is just the conversation. We started this wanting to have an impact and sharing the knowledge, sharing the message of reproductive health and how you should be an advocate and how you can be an advocate and the importance of you being an advocate for not only yourself, for your daughters, your nieces, your aunts, your grandmama, if you of a certain age as well, your peers, your co-workers, being an advocate, standing up for yourself, teaching others how to be an advocate for themselves, but also how do we have those conversations when it comes to ourselves, our doctors, our partners, as well as our employers. This is what it's all about. How do we communicate? And so I want to say thank you so much to Carleeka Basnight-Menendez. I want to say thank you so much to Gregory McKinney for joining me tonight, for sharing and being a part of this conversation and helping me kick off Energize Reproductive Healthcare, Health for Black Women. So before we get out of here, please share with everybody, how can they find you? How can they get in contact with you? And what's the best way for them to hire you? Okay. Carleeka Basnight-Menendez, please share where can they find you?
So across social media, it's Carleeka Basnight-Menendez. I told you the rap name is C to Z. Just start typing in those letters and I should pop up, right? But to book or find, just to connect and learn more how we can serve your community, that's your church, that's your workplace, go to www. I think I did 3 W's, okay? I said I think. Look, www. ensoinc.org, and I will put that in the chat as well. Tameka, I want to say thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. Thank you for your platform. Thank you for the impact that this is going to have on people's lives in their communities, to grow and to, you know what, our health is our wealth, and we don't just want to have yes, Gregory, we see you over there yawning too. Yes, I'm right there with you. Okay. Like, I already know I was over here earlier, like, okay. But right, we want to be healthy, we want to be healed, we want to be whole. And so to do that, you need counseling. To do that, you need to get out and get moving. To do that, you got to sleep good. To do that, you got to stress less, and all of the things. And so, Tameka, we say thank you. We hats off to you for creating energizeHER Reproductive Health for Black women, this fireside chat.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate you. Y'all get connected with Carleeka. Gregory, please tell the people how they can find you, connect with you, and hire you.
Yes, if you're looking to get in communication with me, you can just type in Gregory McKinney on Facebook and Instagram. Those are the only 2 platforms I'm on. But on Facebook is Gregory McKinney / life coach. But if you just type in Gregory McKinney, you should also find me there too. On Instagram, type in Gregory McKinney, but my handle is Gregory Inspires. You can find me there, or you can visit my website, www.gregorymckinney.net. And there you can learn a lot more about me, and you can also schedule a consultation with me so that we can get connected and we can start working together. And if you're ever on Amazon, you can type in my name, and I have a book, Emotional Intelligence for Men. And I think it's an exciting book, a great book that will benefit so many people. So check it out. I think you'll be blessed for reading it. Tameka, this has been great. This has been wonderful. To all the Black men that are watching, I tell you this: these are our queens, and you're not a king unless you protect the queen. And so this is our watch, fellas.
Mm.
We don't want to lose a woman on our watch, because it will be a sad statement on our legacy that our Black women fail because we were not paying attention. And so to all the Black men, let's pay attention. Let's be on our square. A king protects the queen, and that's what we're here to do.
Gregory, listen, you need to trademark that right there. Okay. So listen, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for engaging with us in the comments. We hope that you have gained some knowledge, some insights, something that you can take back to your communities and share. And I hope that you would join us next Thursday on September 26th for another part 2 of the Energizer Reproductive Health for Black Women Fireside Chat. We have more amazing guests that's going to be joining and sharing. Listen, I'm just excited to be here, and I appreciate you all. So thank you all for tuning in. You all have a good evening. Have a good night, y'all. Have a good night.